Do you want higher morale on your pastoral or your volunteer team? Do you want them to be more energized, have deeper relationships, and more connected with one another? Well, what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about one thing that you can do one time a year that is going to incredibly increase the morale, the relationships, the energy on your team, whether it's your staff team or a volunteer team. This one thing that you can do one time a year, and it's going to revolutionize the way your team functions together as a unit. So let's get started. So the big question is this: how do pastors like us, who remain focused on the mission of Jesus and serving our communities without being distracted by everything in the world around us, how do we increase our effectiveness while living a lifestyle that doesn't compromise our health, our families, or our personal relationships with Jesus? That's the question this podcast is going to answer. I'm Dr. Brandon Party Cooper, and welcome to the Ministry Hackers Podcast. Welcome to this episode of the Ministry Hackers Podcast. I hope you're doing wonderfully. Welcome once again, Pastor Matt, to the podcast.
Hey, everyone. How are we doing today?
So as I mentioned before, Matt is going to join us every Monday to just kind of go deeper into just different issues that we as pastors and ministry leaders talk about. He brings a great deal of expertise to the table. And so we're just going to really glean from him and learn from him as well. And quite honestly, we have a lot of fun together. So it just makes the podcast more fun for me.
So it's always nice when we actually enjoy talking to each other. I feel like that's a definite plus on a podcast.
Yeah. And we have a lot of history together. So we have lots of fun stories to tell about each other.
Yes.
We'll see if they come out along the way.
Yeah. My brother-in-law who recently got married, fun story. So my brother-in-law got married to someone who is a former student of mine who has like some connections with other people that I know. And he met my mentor, who is still one of my coaches today, who is a lead pastor on a different part of the state. And he's like, so I met your mentor, who was also my youth pastor. And he's like, oh, I have some stories I could tell about your brother-in-law. And I'm like, oh, no. Like, anytime someone knows me from the ages of like 16 to 24, I'm like, that person knows too much information.
Yeah.
And so, but it also has led to a lot of good conversation and good relationships. So
Yes. Lots of good memories.
For sure.
All right. So this actually leads in really well today because Pastor Matt and I, we spent some time together on staff in the beautiful state of Iowa, my home state. We were on staff. How long were we on staff? 2 years?
Yeah, about 2 years.
About 2 years. And so in that 2 years, we were able to take part in a retreat together. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Because one of the greatest things that you can do for your staff, for your volunteer team, for whatever team that you're wanting to focus in on and really develop, one of the greatest things you can do is take them on a retreat together. And we're going to talk through how to do a staff retreat, how to make it not only just fun and energizing and even relaxing, but how you can make it work for the team to bring them closer together, to draw them in. And Matt and I, we were on a couple of retreats together over those 2 years. Lots of good memories. And we're going to pull from that experience and just things that we've seen over the years and help you put together a killer staff retreat that is just going to be a huge game changer for your team. And there's two reasons why. Two things we want to look at why you want to do a staff retreat. And the first one is it increases the morale of your team. Now, when we did retreats, the way we did it, and there's lots of different ways to do it, but the way we did it is we got a cabin out, not really in the middle of nowhere, but pretty close to nowhere, in the woods.
It was the middle of nowhere. So first off, it was in Iowa, which therefore is by itself the middle of nowhere. And then it was the middle of nowhere in the middle of nowhere. Not like there was running water. And there was internet.
We had electricity.
Yeah. I do remember it was during the Olympics and we were trying to stream something and that was a little bit spotty, but overall
not great Wi-Fi.
It wasn't like, we didn't have like outhouses, but like it was out there.
So kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
But we got a cabin and really we just spent it ended up being a day and a half is really kind of how it played out. A day and a half together, just hanging out, just spending time together, just enjoying each other's company. And quite honestly, for me, and I've been on, oh goodness, probably 5 or 6 staff retreats. And every time that I've done it, I walk away feeling great about the team that I'm on, feeling great about the mission that we are, that we're carrying out at the church, feeling great about the future. Even, there were a couple years during the retreats at different churches that I've been at where things were a little bleak when we went into the retreat, and morale was low. But by the time the retreat was over and we walked away, everybody felt good. Not necessarily because the situation had changed, maybe because we as a team were just closer and more engaged with each other and more focused on what we were looking at. And so the first reason why I think that having a staff retreat is so important is because it increases the morale of your team in that little window of time you have together.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that sometimes, even in a smaller staff, you can kind of get into silos
Mm-hmm.
where it's very easy to forget that you're a part of that bigger team. Because most of the time, when you're coming together, it's to accomplish a large goal. Maybe it's an event or a service, or you're launching something. And so, if you're the youth pastor, you really don't have a lot of one on one time with the kids' pastor.
Right.
Or if you're the lead, like a lot of those conversations that you're having with people who are on your team are strategic, are specific, goal oriented stuff, which is all important. But I think that just having that reminder that you're a part of a bigger team and
Mm-hmm.
that there are people kind of in the trenches with you. Like you said, not even that the situation even has to improve or change, but I think that just the realization that you're not alone will definitely like just give you that extra shot in the arm
Mm-hmm.
of like, okay, I can do this. So that's very true.
Yeah. And that really leads us kind of into the second one. The second reason why I think you need to have a staff retreat is because it deepens relationships. And like you just said, Matt, it's easy for us to get into the busyness of ministry. It's easy for ministry to just kind of take over. And for you, especially because you've been a youth pastor in the years past, it's easy for you, youth pastors and kids pastors, and even I think worship pastors, it's easy to get locked into the team that you're leading. It's you're locked into your worship members and the the musicians and the singers, and you're locked in them, or you're locked into your students, and you're not always locked into the team that you're on. I remember years ago I was at a retreat, or at a conference, and there was this pastor there. He'd been pastor for I think 50 years at that point, and one of the nuggets that he gave us is in the midst of it, he said, make sure that throughout the course of your ministry that you're loyal to the team you're on more than the team you lead. And I always
Mm.
remember that because at that point in my ministry, like I had been a youth pastor, I'd been on a couple different teams, but I had always focused on the people that I led because I felt responsible. I felt responsible for leading them. Those are the ones that God had entrusted me to. But I'd also had some rocky relationships with my staff members, people that I was on staff with, because I was zeroed in on my ministry and zeroed on my people and zeroed in on making sure that I was leading them well, that I wasn't leading sideways. I wasn't leading my peers. I wasn't connecting as well with them. And by having a staff retreat, the first time I had one, I really recognized those words by that older pastor that, man, the team that I'm on is my lifeblood. The team that
Hmm.
I'm on, they're the ones that keep me going. They're the ones that lift me up. They're the ones that encourage me when things are tough. And my relationship with them is far more important than I had acted up to that point in my ministry. And so by having a staff retreat, you get away from your responsibilities, you get away from all the pressure and things that are on your shoulders, and you're really able to focus in on the team that you're on because they're the ones that you're walking through this with. And quite honestly, in ever since I've made that realization and moved forward, the team that I'm on is my favorite part of ministry. I love ministry, but the team that
Hmm.
I'm working with and beside and going into the trenches with, man, that's where the lifeblood for me comes from in ministry.
Yeah. Uh, not not to be too vulgar, I don't know what the rating on your podcast is or whatever, but like I had someone recently say like you learn a lot when you have to like poop and shower with the same people. Like know what I
Right.
mean? Like just like living life with someone, even for
Yep.
that small amount of time,
Yep.
you realize, oh, these are people with
Mm-hmm.
interests and flaws and all that sort of stuff. And you start to see them less of the caricature of what you see in the workplace and
Right.
more of a person. I know that for us, being a larger staff across multiple campuses, one thing that we've really been kind of trying to fight against is the idea that when you're in a department meeting, you the students team will often be like, well, the kids team got to do this, or why do they get resources for
Right.
that? And you kind of think
Yeah.
of like, and there's always kind of that tension in church, like someone gets the new iPad when
Right.
your request got denied for this other activity, and you're like, well, what the heck? And so it kind of
Yeah. We devolve in
becomes this
Lord of the
tension.
Flies.
Exactly. And so I think that when you are hanging out, sharing a meal, like just talking and sitting with someone, and you realize, oh, this person is just a person. Like they're not this list of goals or achievements or tasks that is trying to get accomplished that sometimes lines up with what I would like and sometimes is in conflict with what I would like.
Right.
But you just get to know them as a person,
Hmm.
and having those conversations and those just relaxed times really does deepen those relationships and fortify it, so then when you do have those moments of tension, then you remember, okay, I am kind of pushing up against, in a healthy conflict way, someone who is a person, not just a conflicting circumstance or conflicting idea.
Right.
And so, yeah, so it definitely does deepen those relationships for even months down the road
Hmm.
when conflicts do arise. So that's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so those are the two reasons why we think you should have a staff retreat. Now, let us give you the keys to throwing a great staff retreat. These are just a handful of things that we've come up with that we've pulled from the staff retreats we've been to that say, man, that retreat was great because of this. And the first one, and I know this one's probably going to be hard for some of us out there, maybe hard for you, but the first one is have a minimal agenda. So your retreat isn't the time to hash out your vision, mission, and core values. It's not a time to, go in with lots of training and teaching and all of that. That's not what this is about. Now, maybe you need to have one of those in the year that's focused more on that. But what we're talking about here is we're talking about a very minimal agenda. A day and a half where there's just things to do and no schedule to do them. And I know for me, when we've gone on retreats, this is the part that I love the most because it's like you're on vacation with a whole bunch of people that you're getting to hang out with that you don't normally get to hang out with. Can play games. I know for us, when we the retreats that we were on, we played lots of games. I can't even remember what else we did besides play games because we played so many. I think, like you said, we tried to watch the Winter Olympics. What else? Did we do anything else? Played lots of games.
I
We
think
ate a lot. We cooked food.
weight loss. Yep. Yeah, like a lot of it, like you said, is it's okay to have some things. One thing I will
Mhm.
say is if you are going to do things, have them be more inward or team focused than big church focused.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Uh,
good.
maybe it's a 20 questions kind of a thing where, like, yeah, it's a structured thing. One thing that I will still remember to this day is we had a activity where we each had $20 and we had someone else's name, and we went to Walmart together and we had to buy a gift for
Nice.
someone else. And like just something like that where it's more
Right.
inward focused, a chance
Mm-hmm.
for you to explain to your team, hey, maybe this is something I'm passionate about outside of the church realm, or just finding those connection points. And so
Mm-hmm.
that can be a structured thing,
Yep.
but it's not, okay, here are the fall calendar and kind of what we're looking at. It's more
Right.
of, hey, let's figure out who we are as people and then exchange that information,
Mm-hmm.
kind of going back to the deepening of relationships. But
Right.
once again, like even that might be you eat lunch and you do that from like 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the afternoon,
Yep.
and then that's it. It's not like okay, let's sit down for 7 hours and hash some stuff out,
Right.
because a lot of that stuff will just happen organically.
Right. Well, and I would say too, like you said, there are some things. Like I know, we had scheduled an activity that we had to make sure we were at the, at certain times. So that's good. But then the other thing I thought of as you were talking is, you know, almost every retreat that I've been on, at some point, the lead pastor would share his heart, and it was very casual. It was very conversational. It was really a moment of vulnerability on his part that he would just kind of open up his heart and say, this is what I see for us in the future. This is where I believe God's taking us. And those were always meaningful conversations that were created from that. And the other thing that I thought of too is, you know, it wasn't necessarily always scheduled, but there was an intentionality that it was in the retreat at some point, was where we prayed for each other. We spent a little bit of time and we prayed for one another. We hung out, in the room, just kind of seeking God for a period of time, kind of putting away all the activities and putting away all the distractions, where we could just sit down and say, okay, God, just meet us here in these few moments as we seek your face together. And then we prayed for one another. So those were always huge moments of, again, relationship building, morale building, just connection with one another. So yes, a minimal agenda, but you're going to have some things, but I think that's good. Keep it inward focus, making sure that you're not hashing out the details of ministry, because the whole idea is really to get away from ministry and just be together. So that's the first one. Have a minimal agenda. The second one is facilitate fun. Facilitate fun. Now, for some of us, like myself, this is very difficult because when it comes to events and things, I like to have structure and I like to have like purpose and reasons, and this is why we're doing this. And I tend to be a lot more serious than I would probably like to be at times. But I've also learned that when I am a part of things where I can facilitate a fun environment, it's refreshing for me. And so, maybe that's you. Maybe you are a fun person and you love to have fun. Creating an atmosphere where fun is had will help those members of your staff who are maybe not so fun oriented, like myself. And so just making sure that you're building fun, intentionally building fun into the retreat activities.
Yeah, I think that uh, this can be a really good opportunity for you to even invite your team into the planning phase of it.
That's
Maybe
good.
finding out what would be fun for them. Would they like to go see a movie together as a staff,
Mm-hmm.
or would that be boring for them? Would they like to, maybe like you said, maybe there's a place around where it's like, oh, well, we can do go-karts or we can do,
Yeah.
some sort of fun activity. So maybe even bring them in and give them like two or three options, like, hey, we have the evening or the afternoon. Which one of these things do you think would be like the most fun? Maybe it's play like, doing some sort of activity or some sort of thing that is just there. So then you can kind of, just have fun and kind of relax a little bit. So I think that's very good.
Yep. Okay, so the third thing, and this is one of my favorites because this is deep down the core of who I am, it's facilitate competition. So just so everybody knows, when I take my strengths finder, the number one strength that I have is competition. So it is built into me through and through. Matt and I have had lots of moments of competition over the years. But
Yeah,
build in
yeah.
competition. Yeah, Matt tends to lose, so he doesn't really talk about it.
Yeah, Brandon is a very humble guy until you get to the like 17th hole on a frisbee golf course, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, you're really garbage at this, aren't you? Yes, thank you very much. Like so, yeah.
Yeah, the best comes out.
Hmm.
But when you're on your retreat, build in some competition because it's good. It's good for your team. Now, healthy competition. And quite honestly, when it comes to ministry and when it comes to your staff, I don't like building in competition to the culture of your team just in general. Because as a team, you're working together and some little fun competition here and there in the ministry place is fine, but it can also easily create this tension and almost like this me against you mentality, and on your team you don't need that. But when you get on the retreat and you get in kind of this isolated bubble where you're kind of insulated from the rest of your ministry world, adding in a little competition is a good moment to do it. Because number one, you can see who is and is not competitive at all. And
Hmm.
it's good for you to see that. But then it's also good to see how everybody handles competition. Can they handle losing? Can they handle winning? Not everybody can handle winning well. It's just good insight, but then it's also good relationship building. Because again, when you're competing against each other and there's this, playing games and things like that, when there's a competition, a level of competition, then everybody, if done right in a healthy way, everybody gets the opportunity to grow closer together. And so build in a little competition, whether it's games, whether it's an activity, whether if you have a large enough team, maybe you're shooting hoops and playing basketball together or playing volleyball. I know that's one thing that we've done on ours is play volleyball. Everybody can play, and it's just a fun activity that everybody gets to enjoy. And in the end of the day, nobody really cares who wins or loses, unless you win, and that's just you just enjoy that.
I know. I know that was not a genuine statement from Brandon, because he knows every game that he's won and lost since he's been born. So he cares. But I do think that it's very good because for the retreats that I've been on, even as a fun talking point, looking back, um, there can be even that casual trash talk years later of like, oh man,
Oh
you're just
yeah,
mad because that one game that one time. And I think it kind of builds that camaraderie. And one thing that I found very helpful was doing games that maybe would put you not only just singular competition, but where you're maybe partnered up with somebody else.
yeah,
And then that all of a sudden creates a bond or a link with that person that maybe you normally wouldn't talk to someone else's admin, but you're on
right.
staff retreat, and so they're there, and you guys are on the same team, and so that kind of creates that bonding experience. Competition tends to like turn up the temperature a little bit on that,
Hmm.
and maybe bake a little bit quicker than just regular life experience, like when you're having to work together to accomplish a goal. So yeah, competition can definitely increase that bonding experience.
Yeah. Well, and again, kind of jump off that. There have been times where I've been in that situation where you're partnered with some random person on staff that you never really spent a lot of time with. And, you're in a competition situation and maybe you win or you do really well or whatever. But from that point on, that's always a point that you can come back to. And so, weeks and even months later, I was able to kind of revisit that and, be like, hey, there's, Betty, my ping pong partner at the retreat, and we may not have won, but we really, fought hard or something like that. Like it just gives you this
Yeah.
moment that, you kind of always remember that. And hopefully that then can blossom into a little bit more of a substantial relationship with this person that you really don't interact with a lot. And so yeah,
Mhm.
that's a good point. That's a good point. So, okay. So number 4, facilitate relaxation. Now I would say this is probably one of the top reasons why you're on this retreat. Staff, relationship building, morale building, yes, but relaxation. Because all of us know that if you're a pastor, you're a ministry leader, you're at 110 miles an hour all the time. And even getting on a retreat, there's a good chance a lot of your team members are going to struggle detaching from what they're supposed to be doing and really focus in on just relaxing in that little day and a half or 2 days, whatever the window is. And so you need to make sure that you're building relaxation into the retreat, even if it's forcing them to, go and just spend some quiet time or go and, be alone or, just sit and read or whatever. Because what is going to be the temptation for some is that sure they're on the retreat, but their computer's open and they're hammering away at something that, has to do with ministry. Really create an atmosphere and an environment where the expectation is we're not doing any work. Let's get all of our work done before we leave for the retreat. So while we're on the retreat, we are really intentionally focused on spending time with each other and relaxing. Because the statistics are very clear. Pastors and ministry leaders are struggling with anxiety, with depression, with high stress, and an increasing number of suicides. We need to find ways to build in points of relaxation, and the staff retreat can be one of the highlights of the year because it gives everybody the chance to just relax.
Yeah, and I think that you use the phrase build in, which I think is really good because if you're too vague about it, then, like you said, you're going to have those maybe type A people that are like, this is a great time for me to catch up on some stuff.
Right.
Versus you need to almost give people permission to
Mm-hmm.
relax,
Yep.
to say, like you even said, hey, like a good structure might be, hey, we're doing this 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock vision, that sort of thing. So then, like, you're doing something where it's like, okay, we have a tangible thing that we're walking away from this with.
Mm-hmm.
But then we're going to have dinner at 6. So from 3 to 6, everyone, like, hey, like, if you're at a cabin, walk the grounds. We're
Right.
gonna have a movie on, like in the family room area, if you guys want to watch it. If you want to go
Mm-hmm.
take a nap, go take a nap. Like, you know what I mean? Just kind of give them those options versus like, hey, whatever you want to do, but like almost instruct them like,
Yeah.
this is a time specifically that we have set aside. You're not getting behind on anything.
Right.
This time has been carved out intentionally to not be dead time, but to be time to intentionally rest. And so I think that some people just almost need that permission to say, yeah, you can, you know, you're not wasting time. You're
Right.
not getting behind. This time has been set aside for you to just breathe and relax and
Yeah.
enjoy it.
Well, and some people don't know how. And so, yeah, you're good. That's good. Making sure that you're intentionally teaching them, like, here are things you can do. Because I'll be honest with you, I don't always know how to relax. Like, it's just not how I'm built. And so when somebody says go relax, like relaxing for me is like organizing things. And so sometimes you have to teach people like how to relax. So that's good. Okay, number 5. Facilitate good meals. Now, I will say this is one of the highlights of every retreat I've been on. And there's a couple ways you can do this. Now, the temptation might be that you cater in all these wonderful meals throughout the entire retreat. Now, if you can afford that, that's great. But that's a huge hit on the budget and it makes it harder to make these staff retreats possible. And so, the best model that I've seen on the retreats that I've been on, the best way that this retreat did it is we divided up meals and everybody was responsible for cooking a meal. We would go to the grocery store, buy what we needed, and that was our responsibility. And this was great for a couple of reasons. Number one, we had some really good meals from some really good cooks within the staff that you couldn't get any better by catering in. But number two, just the process of cooking and cleaning and washing the dishes and that whole process again is just a good morale builder. It's good team building. It's good just connecting. I would get the opportunity to see, oh, so and so makes this killer, whatever cornbread muffin casserole thing. I don't know. And I would have never known that had I not gone on a retreat with that person and she made it for us. And so just, those types of things, just things you learn and you go deeper in your relationships because you see, oh, wow, this person's a really good cook. I never would have guessed that. Or this person is really not a very good cook and they had somebody help them.
Yeah.
And so that's good to know too. Just things like that. Again, it's good connecting points. And I would say for the most part, probably better food most of the time. If you have some good
Mhm.
cooks on your staff, really take advantage of that and, get them to make some great stuff for you. So facilitate some great, good meals.
Yeah, one thing that I've seen, and once again, this is all depending on budget and staff size and all that sort of stuff, is let's say you're doing the essentially day and a half model. So in my brain, I'm thinking you leave Thursday night, and so like you're going up in the evening. You don't really do much on Thursday besides get there and settle in.
Right.
Friday is all day, and then maybe you stay the night, and then you drive home Saturday morning. Like that's kind of how I'm envisioning this. My, if you have the budget and you are going to spend it, I would say that your money is better well spent on having a good, maybe going out to eat, maybe even on your way to wherever you're going that Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe have it a little bit nicer. So instead of McDonald's, do like even
Right.
if it's like Applebee's, like just a little bit step up.
Yeah.
And so then you're facilitating that conversation already before you're getting there. And people are kind of just unplugging in that moment. And then on Friday and then Saturday morning, doing the whole thing. So if you are going to do a meal, I would say that the value would probably be much more than if you were to. I would rather you spend a little bit more on the Thursday night or on that first night when you're not really doing much of anything yet.
Right.
And then, hey, cook for the whole day. Then, like, okay, we're going to get bagels on the morning of, and then we're going to order in Qdoba for lunch, and
Right.
then we're going to get pizza on the dinner. Like, I would say, okay,
Yeah.
take that money, do groceries, and then maybe have a nice one to kind of celebrate. Hey, we're coming together. Let's detach all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I fully agree with you. I think that the food thing, it gives people a sense of like creativity and purpose of,
Mm-hmm.
okay, maybe I'm not a good cook and maybe I need to tag team with somebody and like,
Right.
hey, I can, I'll pour the orange juice or whatever it is.
Right.
But
I'm good at that.
exactly. And having people kind of get together and do that. And then people kind of know going in, like, okay, I'm going to have to wake up a little bit early on Saturday because I said I would do breakfast, or I got to like be creative and think about this. And yeah, and then just there's something about just cooking a meal for someone and having like
Yeah.
a home cooked meal that is just going to get you so much farther than getting Domino's again.
Right.
So
Yeah. That's good.
yeah, I think that that's a there's a lot of value in just that cooking side of it.
Yeah. Well, and there's something to be said for serving one another rather than being served by a catering company. So, yeah. So I just think it's a good opportunity. And again, you get good food, and that's what you want. So, all right. So number 6, this is a bonus because this is something that you can't always do because of budget, and something that you probably don't always want to do, just because it spoils them a little bit. But number 6 is give personal gifts. Now, of all the retreats that I've been on, I think this has only happened one time, but it was incredible the time that it happened. And what the lead pastor did is he gave each person, or in our case, it was each couple, a basket or a box or something. And in that basket or box, there was personalized gifts. So I think every couple got a game, every couple got some sort of treat, or maybe it was one treat for each member of, so me and my wife, we got 2 treats, but they were things that both of us liked. So something she liked, something I liked. So this game, there was a couple treats in there. I want to say there was, some like decorative thing. I think that was probably from Pastor's wife. Some decorative thing that was personalized to us that we were able to put up in our house. But it was just a really cool. It showed a great level of thought because it wasn't everybody got the same thing. Every couple had something specific to them that they enjoyed and liked. And so, and again, for me, it was just an incredible touch to the rest of the retreat, which was already a lot of fun, because it was personalized. Pastor obviously put some thought into it, obviously paid attention and really took note of us as individuals. And that made me feel like I wasn't just a member of his staff. I wasn't just, a cog in the wheel, but I had value as a person to him. And so if you can add that personal gift element, it doesn't have to be extravagant. It could be one simple, thoughtful thing. And I think that's the key. It's not about how much you spend, is making it personal and thoughtful, that you are paying attention to the individuals and giving them something that means something to them, not just I'm going to buy 10 things and just give it to all my staff members.
Yeah, and I think that part of it is also the memory connection to it, where I know that there are a few things that maybe I'll have on my desk or around my house that will automatically trigger those good, you know, will trigger those good responses. I'll remember the ping pong game that we had. I'll remember the fun competition we had, or the really
Right.
good meal that we shared, because one, if it's personalized, you're more likely to keep it around. It's not just some sort of token that there's 50 other of them and it's
Right.
kind of okay, whatever.
Right. Exactly.
But it's something like you feel like it's for you, and so like you hold on to it a little bit longer, and then every time that you see that, it kind of just reminds you of the charge that was kind of put into you during that staff retreat. So yeah.
Cool. Okay, so that's it. That's the staff retreat. That's the 2 reasons why, and the 6, you know, kind of elements or keys that will help you throw a great staff retreat and really boost the morale, boost the relationships of your team, which is what you need. Through the course of the year, you go through a lot as a ministry team. And to be able to have this moment in time at some point in the year where it kind of brings you together and makes your relationships cohesive and tight, it's going to bring you through a lot through the course of the year. So thank you, Matt, for being here. I love having you here. This was a lot of fun. I believe our
Absolutely.
next episode, though, you and I are going at it. So we're gonna
Oh,
duel a little
absolutely.
bit.
We're going to show the world finally who's really the brains of this operation and who knows what they're talking
Yes,
about.
yes. The man behind the curtain.
Yeah, absolutely.
The man behind the curtain. So thank you so much for being here. Okay, and for the rest of you, if you are if you're looking at wanting to increase your lifestyle, balance it a little bit more, give yourself a dream life and ministry that we talk about here on Ministry Hackers all the time, then I want you to go to brandonpartycooper.com/more time and more money. And what you're going to find there is you're going to get a guide, a step-by-step guide on how you can start living your dream life. You can live this lifestyle of ministry where you pastor a growing church, growing ministry, but at the same time, you have time with your family, time with your friends, time to have your hobbies, time to travel, time to do whatever it is you enjoy doing. Because all of us are more than one dimensional. We're not just pastors and ministry leaders. We are parents and spouses. We are, some of us are woodworkers, or we're knitting aficionados, or some of us like to do art, or some of us like to just travel the world. But we don't always have time for those things because we're so busy doing ministry. And what I want to do is I want to show you step by step how you can change that. How you can be great at ministry and doing all the things that God's called you to do, but at the same time have this lifestyle where you can live balanced and healthy and have a good personal life and take care of your body and take care of your mind, take care of your emotions. And so I want you to go to brandonpartycooper.com/more time and more money. And you right there, you'll get the step-by-step guide. You can see how that's possible for you starting today. All right. This was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for being a part of this, for joining Matt and I on this episode. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you in the next episode.